No, no, that's my note.
Yeah.
Vorsitzender. All right, Bill, sit down. We're starting. We're starting. Here.
We good to go, Georgia?
Yes. And if you can pull your mic.
Good evening. Welcome to the Danvers Conservation Commission meeting for December the
Better.
14th, 2023. We as a commission operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaws, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After each applicant presents his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and address first. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, property owners, and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction regarding such things as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with the other appropriate boards. First order of business will be a roll call. Peter Wilson is present. Vanessa Curran.
Present.
Jonathan Garis is not with us tonight. Ann McGill
Present.
and Michael Splain.
Yeah.
First order of business on our agenda is a request for a certificate of compliance for 47 Green Street, DEP file number 14-1396. Is there anyone here representing the applicants, or Georgia, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, Brian, if someone wants to go up. And I apologize, the microphones, as the meeting progresses, he's going to tweak it, so hopefully it gets better. I apologize.
Distracts from me being awkward up here anyway.
Yeah, I'm helping you out here.
All right, guys. Brianne Linsky, 47 Green Street.
Could you just stand closer to the microphone?
Brianne Linsky, 47 Green Street.
Okay.
Do you want me to give a little background?
Yeah, just give us a little.
Oh, I remember
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, we went up.
So Brianne and her husband, I've met with them multiple times. They checked in throughout the life of the project. If the commission remembers, it was a year ago in January that they got their approval to add an addition to the house and redo the entire house, knock down a very large barn and a shed, and rip up a portion of driveway. So they've done that. I went out in September. All the plantings look really good. They kept some native bushes, kept some areas alone. I was really happy with the work that was done. Everything was built as approved. They did have two small deviations that I saw on site that Bill noted in the letter, which was a couple raised vegetable beds and a small shed. Those things are very minor. They are within the 100-foot buffer, but that's definitely something, if they came to me, that would be allowed under a minor permit. So knowing they had a bigger, larger permit, I didn't see it as an issue. Yeah.
And there was impervious surface that was removed, right?
Yeah, they removed almost 2,000 square feet. And I met on site with them to show them where to put the no disturb markers, so those were placed, and they added more than we actually asked for, so they continued that line a little bit.
And did we have to grant a waiver for any work on this?
I believe we did, because the addition was in the rear. It was in the 35 and 50, but it was under the threshold.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's according to plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Mike, do you have any questions?
No.
Ann, any questions?
No questions. I remember the site.
Vanessa, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, if someone can make a motion, I think this is great that everything's according to
Back so
plan.
quick, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone can make a motion, we'll approve.
I'll make a motion for 47 Green Street, DEP file number 14-1396 to be approved.
Issue a
Certificate
certificate
of
of compliance.
Right, sorry, issue of compliance. I didn't write that down, that's right.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just
Thank
a
you guys
quick,
very much.
finishing note, we just appreciate that you guys did it all according to plan, and then probably a near record time. The time that I've been on the Conservation Commission,
Yeah.
we've never had anyone turn a project around this quickly, so
Yeah, true.
Did a pretty
glad
amazing
to see
job,
it.
too. It's
thank you and
you.
good luck.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
guys.
very, very much. Happy
You bet.
holidays, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is a request for a certificate of compliance for 18 Electronics Ave, DEP file number 14-1252. The applicant is Demakis Enterprises. Is anyone here representing the applicant?
Hi, I'm Katie Cruz. I'm here to present.
So long.
Katie, we can hear you, but on our end, it's not loud enough. So if you can give us just a second, I apologize.
Okay.
I think we'd have this figured out.
The basins are functioning as required for the past 9 years.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This might be a game time decision. Katie, can you try again?
Yep. Is this better?
All right, why don't we give it a couple sentences, and if it's bad, we'll let you know, okay?
Okay. Should I share my screen, Georgia?
Yeah, that would be great, and we can hear you much better.
Okay. 1 moment. Can you see that okay?
We can.
Okay. So, good evening. My name is Katie Cruz. I am a civil engineer with Hancock Associates. Our office is located at 185 Center Street in Danvers. I am here to present a request for a certificate of compliance at 18 Electronics Avenue. This was a fairly simple project that installed an underground system of pipes and manholes that connected to 2 existing downspouts on the building that were spilling out to grade. So stormwater that came down those 2 downspouts drained overland over the pavement into an existing detention basin. The underground system of pipes conveys the water directly to the detention basin, and a riprap pad was installed to provide the required energy dissipation. There are no changes to the detention basin, but it has been maintained over time. And then the remaining piece of the project is that some curb that was asphalt curb was replaced with sloped granite curb to continue to direct stormwater runoff from the paved area to the basin. There was no increase in impervious area as part of the project. And all of the work was installed per the plans.
Okay, so this work was applied for and finished within many years ago, right?
Yeah, this
9
is
years ago?
2014. This was approved.
Okay, and
December.
everything seems to work properly?
Yeah, everything was functional. I went by the site today. The detention basin looks just like it had in the photos that they provided from November. The parking lot, I didn't notice any pooling, any ponding, any depressed areas. Everything looked great.
Okay. Mike, have any questions?
Yeah, when was the project completed?
I believe it was completed fairly recently after the application was submitted. So I think within a year of the December 2014 approval.
Okay, and coming in now, is there being a transfer or something?
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't have the details of that, but I know that the owner just wants to get this finalized and close out the order conditions.
Later.
I believe they may have also filed some stuff with planning board for various smaller additions. So I'm wondering if this was triggered when they were just looking at all their other permits and closing things out.
Yeah. All right, that's all. I was just curious on that. Thank you. No further questions.
Ann?
No questions, thank you.
Vanessa, any questions?
No. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, I see no reason why we should not say we should approve this, so somebody make a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for 18 Electronics Avenue, DEP file number 14-1252.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're all set, but you don't get a gold star for coming in quickly.
But it really works.
But we're glad that you did come in. Okay, the next up is 99 Middleton Road, an amendment request for 99 Middleton Road, DEP file number 14-1382. The applicant's the Massachusetts Department of Capital Asset Management. Is someone here to represent the applicant?
Yes, my name is Bill Marr with Niche Engineering.
Hello?
Can
My
you hear
name
me?
is
Can we approve that?
Oh, so go ahead, Warren.
We can hear you, Bill.
Okay, no, thank you. I do have with me a few people from DCAM, so I'll let them introduce themselves, as well as my client from SGH.
Georgia, I really
What's
can't.
the
Warren, go ahead.
problem? I can't
Yeah.
really follow.
Bill, I apologize on our end. The audio is just really fuzzy. It's not your fault. We're trying to fix it. Do you mind giving us like maybe 60 seconds to 2 minutes?
Sure,
Okay, thank you.
sure, give me enough time to spruce up my hair.
Yes. And for the people at home, we'll just pause for a minute or two. Yeah, that was pretty, I can't. I'm looking for subtitles to see if they,
Okay.
if they have subtitles on.
Oh, okay.
This is not as bad as being hacked, like the, was it planning board was hacked?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was rough.
Okay.
heard about that happening in another community to the paper this past week. They
Yeah.
were hacked also.
Yeah.
I did see that, yeah.
Unless the subtitles are pretty good.
Used to access the site during demolition.
Bill, will you say hi just to see what happens?
We went to
Sure.
this one,
Hi.
Oh, okay.
didn't we? Middleton
I
Road.
wonder what buildings are they talking about?
I don't think I did, but I may
What
just.
buildings are they talking about?
That is, it's an old power plant. They were in here, they're gonna demolish it.
Construction
I think they just
entrance.
wanna move the road, expand it.
Looks like it, yeah.
Trying to think the old state house.
It's right on the end of the rail trail. When you go into the rail trail over there, it's right there.
That's right. Oh, I know. what you-
Yeah.
There's like a limo service on
That's it.
62.
Yeah.
There's a little driveway right next to it.
All right, Bill, do you want to say something again?
The limo in the post
Sure.
office.
Oh,
Hello, everyone.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
Bill Marr from Niche
Really
Engineering.
low.
You mean the Hawthorne?
All right, please hold.
Yeah.
Little Hawthorne post
Yeah.
office, yeah.
I remember driving.
All right, Bill, try it again.
Good evening, everyone. This is Bill Marr from Niche Engineering.
Ooh, how do we feel?
Well, let's try it with the subtitles.
I did-
Well, let's, is this a pressing matter, first of all? I mean, is this, are you
Well, wait.
ready to start work and you need to have this permit before you can start?
No, this is the order conditions.
Yeah, this is an amendment. I would say
Right, but I'm just
everything-
saying, I guess what I'm driving at, if we can postpone, we should postpone. But if they're desperate to get the work done, maybe someone could give us, maybe Georgia could give us an
Well,
overview.
wait a minute, is this, are all the hearings gonna be like this, Georgia?
So this is our last hearing that will be virtual,
All
but
right.
for 8 and 21 Tibbetts, it's going to sound like this between us.
Well,
Yeah, but at least
can we,
can
can
see
we
people
ask
eye to eye.
questions, we can get yes or no answers from?
Yeah, if we want to do that, and if you see up at the top of the screen,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, all
I
right.
put subtitles up there, which seem to be working pretty well.
Yeah.
Huh, is that an automatic feature of?
I don't know, but thank God for it.
Yeah, good.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairperson, if you would like me to give a brief overview, and then Bill
we
can
can
try to
proceed.
fill
Well,
in.
why don't we start with that and see how it goes, instead of just having this gentleman try to give us a thing, and we just struggle to listen to him.
Okay.
Well,
And you can also feel free to use the chat feature for any of the other
Yeah.
people that are here for this project, and I can read that out loud if that helps as well, if I'm saying something wrong or, so Division of Capital Asset Management, if no one is aware, or people aren't aware, the state hospital has a portion of property, or that was associated with the old state hospital. It's that really tall smokestack and the old rail building that's by Kirkbride Drive, by the old state hospital property. They received an order last April 2022, to demolish all those buildings and just reclaim the site, grade, loam, seed, leave it alone, walk away. Through their planning efforts, so there was a construction entrance. They were going to come through the roadway that leads you up to the old state hospital. So you pass the emergency room on your left, the adult healthcare center on your right, if you're going up the hill, right off 62. Is everyone, yeah.
Yeah.
So they were going to access the site that way. They've now changed how they want to access the site to come off 62 directly through a small cut through that leads to the now new section of rail trail. So the construction entrance, the physical riprap area, boxed area where the construction trucks come in and out, has moved. And it's now moved into a new section of buffer zone that wasn't what we had previously reviewed. I believe it's relatively the same size. If anything, it's just a swap. There's a new location. It's on town property, but the town has given DCAM permission to have that temporary access through the life of construction. Bill, if you're able to pull up your screen, if you're planning on sharing that presentation, it may be helpful to show that aerial view you had of the old highlighted entrance and then the new entrance. And if not, I also have it. Can we go full screen? I'm sorry. Just so they can see. Here you go.
Which is the old and which is the new, Georgia?
Bill, there's one with a photo too, if you don't mind showing that one. I think that's the most helpful one.
I think those are boundary lines, jurisdiction lines.
There we go. If you could zoom in on that one. Yeah, do you mind if I just, we can just do this for, because we can hear on this.
Do you want me to speak Georgia?
I don't know if we'll be, I don't,
Read it.
So,
but so this is 62 up here.
Yep,
This small access road
yep.
brings you to the rail trail, which you can barely see. It's
Yeah.
right, runs
Yeah.
along here.
And-
So this access road is what they now want to use to get to the site.
so we originally approved the yellow highlighted?
Exactly.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the big parking lot in front of the emergency room building.
Right, right.
Okay.
So they were going to come through here, this back access, but now they want to come through here. So the wetland area is in between the rail trail and the site property.
Yep.
In my mind, I thought it was well enough adequate for an amendment. It really is a minor change to the project. They're still doing the same amount of alteration, it's just in a different area. And there was also another portion of the project where they found a hot spot of contaminated soil that they
Right.
would like to remediate.
And where is that?
That, I'm not sure exactly if it's on this plan. It's not on this plan. Bill, are you able to point that out?
Yes.
And if you want to attempt to talk, I don't want to stop you. I mean, we could at least try. There it is. And is that what you just, yeah, that little yellow dot right in front of the building that they're going to demolish.
Okay.
All right, so quick question. So the original access to the project went through something of our jurisdiction?
Yes, so it would have been the, Bill, can you go to the plan?
Right.
There's Hawthorne, yeah, okay.
Okay, Bill, do you want to try, we just adjusted something, if you want to try to say something.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Can you
Ah.
hear me fine?
That is better.
Better.
Take it away, Bill, we'll see what happens.
Okay. No, thank you, Commission members. Just to note on this plan, what was previously approved back in April 2022 is on the left side here. And on the right side of this page, we have the new access coming in off of town property through that access road. That's right here. Previously, these wetlands, were not, part of that original notice of intent filing. And because we were coming in to the site from a different location, we felt it was best to locate the wetlands, in this area here, as well as draw the, buffer zones, to them to ensure whether we were, within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. I did meet with, Georgia, earlier last month, before we did make the submission, to her and the, commission. And everything that she has said to this point is true. And this area right here, this hatched-in area right next to the building, is just inside the 100-foot buffer zone, and this is where that soil hotspot is. That we want to, when the building comes down and we take out this hotspot, then we're going to backfill it with clean soil, and as Georgia said previously, then we're going to loam and seed the site to stabilize it for whatever happens to the property.
Okay. First question is, why do you want to switch the access from one to the other? I mean, coming off of 62, that's a tricky stretch of road there because you have to make a U-turn. Whereas the other one was you just driving into the hotel entrance, the hospital entrance and taking a right. So just curious as to what the motivation for this change is.
Well, first let me say that I do have members from DCAM here, on this call, and I don't know if they just want to introduce themselves as long as two other consultants.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ken Sanderson. I'm the environmental project manager for DCAM for the demolition project.
Warren Madden, senior project manager, Office of Real Estate Management, also working on this project for DCAM.
John Cates, I'm the senior operations manager for DCAM for OFMM. I'm responsible for the overall site itself.
Karen Badality, I'll be the project manager when it's under construction.
Okay, well,
I'm Greg
welcome to you all.
Cohen, Senior Principal at
Still going.
Simpson Gumpson Hager. We're the prime design consultant for the demolition project, working for DCAM.
I'm Alan Sunkers from CDW Consultants. I'm the project geologist and field services manager working with the DCAM and SGH team.
Oh yeah, thanks everybody. So the question was about the access, and just staying on to the screen, and I apologize for not knowing the individual's name, but what we did is we did a truck turning analysis, for basically 18-wheeler dump trucks, because obviously the material that is demoed needs to be hauled off the site, and or new material brought in. So we did that analysis off of Maple Street up here in both directions. We share that information with DCAM, And, that's where it was, best to come in off of this, what is called on the photograph plan, an access road, into the site here. We have worked with, David Lane from your DPW office, and he has helped us out with, doing some relocating of utility poles, taking down some as needed, to accomplish, this activity and access into the site.
And Bill, if I may add for the commission, that initially when we looked at this, and Warren Madden here from the Office of Real Estate Management for DCAM, we initially thought we had easement rights that were going through the Hawthorne Hill property to access the site. And at further review, we realized that those easement rights were no longer in place once we decommissioned the power plant building. So technically, we would have to work with Hawthorne Hill in order to gain easement rights, which we did reach out to them to see if we can arrange some way we can get a license and so forth to get access through their property, and they were not warm to that idea. So that's when we started looking at alternative ways of trying to get access to the to the power plant parcel. So and initially reaching out to the town of Danvers, where this parcel eventually will be conveyed once the building is demoed and the site's remediated, will be conveyed to the town for general municipal purposes, which at the present time is planning on being a new DPW site for the town. So that's give you a little background on why we had to make that change to go through the access road that we're talking about in this amended order of conditions.
That makes sense. Thank you. Let me just turn it over to members of the board to see if they have any other questions. Mike?
So, the property, the person or entity that is not allowing access, did you previously have access and then it was refused at some point?
Well, we looked at the deed. Oh, go ahead. Someone speak or?
I didn't catch it.
But I think he said they had an easement, but then when it transferred, that easement ceased to exist.
Could you repeat the answer?
Okay. We did look at the deed initially, and we thought we had the property rights to access through the Hawthorne Hill property. We currently don't, and we did reach out to them to see if we could gain access through their property while we were doing this demolition project, and they were not warm to that idea for a number of reasons. Number one, they just don't want the disruption around there. And also, number two, there's a consideration issue too. So, they just don't want us to go through that access point. So that's why we started looking at alternative ways of trying to get to the power plant building. And again, have been working with the town to get legislation enacted to authorize DCAM to convey the parcel to the town once the building is demoed and the site's remediated. We come up with this scenario that we're proposing tonight to access, right off of 62, right up through where the rail trail is, right into the parcel, and not getting anywhere near the Hawthorne Hill property. So,
and
Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
go-
Go ahead, Member Swain.
Our chairman raised the question, will you be turning around 18-wheelers in front of that little post office?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? I didn't hear the question.
Are you going to be turning around 18-wheelers as you go up 62, then you're going to have to reverse near where the Hawthorne post office is with an 18-wheeler, is that correct?
They can
I'm
turn
not sure,
around.
Bill.
Member Swain, they'll be pulling in before the post office. This driveway is located before the post office, so they'll come in, and then they'll come out the same way they went in. So there will be no turning around on 62.
Oh, all right, so you know where I'm talking about, where when you're going to deliver a piece of mail, you have to go up and turn around? You won't be doing that?
Okay. All right, that's outside
I-
of our jurisdiction
Yeah, I know, but
anyways.
I've just, concerns me.
Okay.
Well, you
um,
And I, and I will add
Answer my
that,
question, too.
in conversation, good.
So the
Sorry.
answer is that you won't, that you turn before that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all right. I think that's their answer. All right, that is the only question I had, thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, one more. The hotspot, what's the size of the so-called hotspot?
It's about 10 feet squared.
Well, that's it?
Yes,
All right, and that mean, by hotspot, you mean it's contaminated?
Right.
yes.
All right, and how did you determine that?
I'm sorry?
How did you determine it was contaminated?
We did some borings, slash, test pits out at the campus there.
Oh. And do you know what, I'm just curious, what's the contamination?
I will need to let somebody else answer that.
Alan, you want to take care of that?
Sure. It was some elevated lead from the old coal ash from the burning of the power plant back in its history.
Thank you.
And would you be doing that work or somebody else?
Can you say that again? I didn't
Who
quite catch
would be
that.
doing that work?
Anybody? I am not understanding it.
Who would be
it's-
doing the remediation work to remove the hotspot?
Oh, Alan,
The,
can you answer? Yeah.
The project isn't bid yet, so it would be a contractor that we haven't yet hired, but the LSP on the site, I think, will be, am I right, CDW?
Yes, that's correct. Once a contractor is awarded by DCAM, myself, along with any of my field personnel, will be working side by side with Ken and his group to observe any remediation and collect confirmatory samples under the Massachusetts contingency plan.
It's just for staff, will they have to come back to us to do that?
To do that work? No.
No?
Well, they're asking to do that work right now, but in terms of dealing with contaminated soils, that's a separate area of the DEP they'll be filing permits and managing that. But they're just asking, hey, can we do additional digging? You guys didn't review before.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Ann, any
Thank you.
questions?
No.
Vanessa, any questions?
I have two. One is the new proposed construction entrance actually crossing the rail trail?
Yeah.
Crossing the what?
Rail trail.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and that section is not constructed as of yet, Georgia?
No, it's not. So if anything, where the trucks will be coming across is the start of the Middleton span.
Yeah.
So where trucks are coming in is really the same area people would hypothetically start, or if they came from Middleton, they would be turning around to go back. The connection would be built well after this is constructed,
Okay.
or unconstructed.
Now, just to follow up to that question, I heard you say you're working with the town of Danvers
Yeah.
DPW.
That's what I wanted.
Has the rail trail considerations been part of those discussions? I mean, to my viewpoint, it's got to be some kind of safety concern there if someone's coming down on a bicycle and an 18-wheel dump truck is coming across their path. So is there going to be signage or some kind of warning for bicyclists there?
We can definitely add some. I don't believe.
It's probably not within our jurisdiction, but I just...
No, I think that's a very good point. Given, I think it's gonna, I don't want to say it's gonna be fairly quickly, but it could happen anytime. So whether the project's 1 day long or 2 weeks long, it's important to take into consideration. I did want to note for the public that's watching at home or people that were able to hear it, because some people may not have picked up on it, but a gentleman did mention that the state legislator did approve the sale of this property to the town for a potential DPW facility. It's in the very, 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 very early stages, but this is the first step of that, is the sale to the town and the state legislator approving that. So down the line, I have a feeling safety measures are going to be 10 times bigger than what we'll see for here. And we don't know where the access is going to be for those, DPW trucks. But if the commission wants to add a condition that pedestrian safety features be implemented during the life of construction, I don't see an issue with that.
Okay. Vanessa, you said you had another question?
Yes. So this is for a temporary construction entrance. After all the work is done, how will this temporary gravel entrance be restored?
It'll be restored. I'm sorry,
Bill.
go ahead, Warren.
No, go ahead, Bill.
No, but I was going to, just say that it'll be restored, to its current condition. Other than, this site being loomed and seeded once everything is all done, any repairs that are needed on the that portion of the rail trail will bring it back, to its condition prior to the start of this project. And let me just also note too that we do plan to have fencing around this area of the site where the construction entrance is, and so forth, so that nobody walking along the trail will have access into the site.
And just to add on to that, Bill, in our conversations with the DPW department of the town, the plan is it's a temporary access road for us to do our demolition project, but eventually that's the location where they would like the permanent road so they can gain access to the parcel in order to construct the new DPW site and obviously use the DPW site in futures once it's constructed. So that's something that the town DPW is looking at currently. So.
Okay, so what is the actual impact to the wetlands resulting from these changes?
Well, there's no actual impact to the wetland. It's just, it's a new alteration in the buffer zone. Bill, do you have a square footage on how big the construction entrance is?
The construction entrance, typically is 12 feet wide and 50 feet long.
And it's made out of riprap, like crushed stone, gravel. And so we could.
Correct.
Okay, so it's just within the buffer zone. There's no impact on wetlands.
Yeah, if you
itself.
see on that top right, it's just within the 100-foot. The 100-foot buffer is the yellow line.
Right. Okay. This is a public hearing, right? So, is there questions from the public? Sir?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I thought I heard hazardous waste, and you're here because of the conservation. Am I asking you folks what kind of precautions they take when they're doing their hazardous waste material so it doesn't leach or end up partly on the land that we're supposed to be trying to protect? Is that a question I can ask? I'm just concerned when you mention hazardous waste and you're dealing with conservation land, I'm concerned.
Well, I think that they said that they had a certified, well, they will have a certified contractor.
And you'll be notified who this certified?
Well, we should make that a condition.
And we'll be
yes.
notified where they dispose of the soil, and they'll show a receipt.
Okay,
what happens.
I don't care where they dump it, as long as it's not in Danvers. I'm more concerned about Danvers property
Phil.
and the hazardous waste.
Yes, they're going to have they're going to put it out to bid, and a certified contractor that will apply for that bid, because they have the credentials, will manage the contaminated soils. It's not like a sludgy liquid, it's going to be a soily, contaminated soil.
Just concerned.
Hey, as you should be.
Danvers.
But luckily, they're going to take care of it with a professional.
Promise. Thank you.
I promise.
Anyone else with any questions or comments? Hearing none?
I have another question.
Go ahead, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, so, does this roadway have to be constructed?
I'm sorry, could you repeat, please?
All right, so the proposed entrance, do you have to construct that entrance? Put down some base for it, for the 18-wheelers?
Yeah, yes, we have to put down a 8 to 12 inch thick bed of crushed stone for the trucks to drive over, so that when they leave the site, they are not depositing mud or things like that nature onto the public roadway systems.
Right. And how long will this project, the demo project, take?
Well, our intent is to come back to you, the commission, for a certificate of compliance this time next year.
So you think it'll go for a year?
Approximately a year, yes. We have until April of 2025, when our 3-year order of conditions limit ends, unless we request, any extension. But right now, our full intent is to come back to this commission, late next year, or, worst case scenario is early 2025.
Okay. My other concern, even though I know staff said that the rail trail has not been completed, do people use that trail though, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. So would there be some sort of safety plan with regards to over the year that you'll be coming in and out of there to make sure nobody gets hurt that's using the trail?
Correct. There will be a safety plan, employed, by the contractor, and by us, to note that, on the drawings and in the specifications, for them to, basically, be aware and to put up, temporary signage for, those people that use the trail or are expected to use the trail.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay, if someone can make a motion, then we could agree. Just one quick point of clarification. This does not restart the clock on the term of the order of conditions.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Correct. We are aware that this does not extend. There's not another 3-year, date. From today or whenever the amended order is issued, if it is issued. We realize that it's the original order of conditions that is the start and stop, clock for this project.
Okay, good, thanks. All right, someone wants to make a motion, unless anyone objects?
A motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, why don't we do that first?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 99 Middleton Road, DEP file number 14-1382.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead, Vanessa.
You're on a roll.
So we're issuing an order of condition, an amended order of conditions?
What's amendment? We're just authorizing an amendment request.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the amendment request for the order of conditions for DEP file number 14-1382.
Okay, I'm just going to add
Conditions?
a condition to that the the applicants work with the town of Danvers, DPW, because I think they oversee the rail trails, is that correct? Just to make sure that there is a valid, robust safety plan for that intersection, because that, from the way I see it, that's like the gateway to that stretch of the rail
Yeah.
trail. So we just want to be very careful down there.
Can we also add that they restore the area to its original condition? Because they're putting down 18 inches of stone.
So those two conditions, George, do you capture that?
I got them.
Okay, and the motion's been made, is there a second?
A second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we look forward to seeing you in another 15, 18 months.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much, and happy holidays to everybody.
Great,
Thank you, good
you.
luck.
Thank you very much, everyone. Alan,
Thank you.
thank you very much,
Thank
Greg.
you.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 4, an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 191 Old Burley Street, DEP file number 14-1408. The applicant is Flight Level Aviation, and the applicant has requested that we continue the public hearing to our January the 11th meeting. So if someone can make a motion to that effect, please.
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the ANRAD for 191 Old Burley Street, DEP file number 14-1408 to our meeting on January 11th.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is a notice of intent for 152 Endicott Street, DEP file number 14-1402. The applicant is Pete Doucette. And once again, the applicant has requested that they continue the hearing until 1/11/2024. So someone can make a motion to that effect, please?
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 152 Endicott Street, DEP file number 14-1402 to our next meeting to the January 11th meeting.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next up, item number 6, notice of intent for 21 Tibbetts Avenue, DEP file number 14-1409. And the applicant is Philip Suddenfeld. And are you Mr. Suddenfeld?
Yes, good evening. My name's Phil Sudenfield. I reside at 21 Tibbetts Ave, and I'd like to ask Bob Griffin from Griffin Engineering, who will be doing the presentation tonight. Okay?
Okay, good, thank you.
Good evening. Mr. Sudenfield bought the property at 21 Tibbetts a little more than a year ago. He's been living in it, since about August of '22, and he's been making a lot of improvements to the property. If you've been down there, you've noticed that the house is coming back into glory. He happens to have a garage on his property that's not in very good shape. So earlier this year, Mr. Sudenfeld and his architect went to the Zoning Board of Appeals and got approval to replace the garage on the property. And so I'll talk a little bit about the garage project here. And then the second part of the project, so all part of the same application, is the construction of a pier going out into the Danvers River. The existing parcel, you can see, is quite small. And, as a consequence, it's a non-conforming lot, and so that's why he had to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. He's got a non-conforming lot, doesn't have enough area, doesn't have enough frontage. He's got a non-conforming existing garage. It doesn't have enough setback on the side yard. And so you can see the light-colored box is the existing structure. So this 21 by 22 is approximately the size of the existing garage. It's 2 cars wide, and you can see the new building is going to be a little bit more narrow. It's really going to have one garage door going in, but it's a little longer. It's actually a total of, I think, 45 or 50 feet long from beginning to end. And as a result of that, he'll be able to put 2 cars back to back. Another feature that Mr. Sudenfeld proposed is to put a vehicle lift in there. Mr. Sudenfeld has some older cars, and so he'll actually be able to lift up a car and put one underneath it so he can keep his cars at the site and lift them up above the flood elevation. And that's one of the major concerns here is the flooding. All of Tibbetts Avenue, or this cul-de-sac area, has a flood elevation of 10 feet, And you can see on the plan that the elevation at the street is 6.9, and the rest of his parcel is pretty flat. There's 7.1, 7.2, 7.5. So in a flood, this whole area is under, 3 feet, or in the 100-year flood anyways, this area is under 3 feet of water. And as a consequence, we've included in the design of the garage some flood vents, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are the same types of flood vents you've seen in other structures on Tibbetts Avenue. So the garage floor will be at 7.3, so to sort of match the existing grades. And we don't really have a whole lot of room to ramp up at this particular site because of the lot lines and the way the other site constraints exist. But the garage will have flood vents so that in a flood, the water will come in and go out without requiring any intervention by Mr. Studenfield or anyone else for that matter. It's more or less in the same location, a little bit further off of the lot line than the existing building. And it's also going to occupy an existing brick patio. So it really doesn't, because of the flat nature of the site and the brick patio and the driveway area here, really has no effect on stormwater runoff. Mr. Studenfeld's property has lawn and some perennials along the shoreline, and all of that will be maintained. None of that gets affected by the proposed work. Now, Mr. Studenfeld's also an avid boater. He has a sailboat and a powerboat. In fact, in his younger years, Mr. Studenfeld grew up in this part of Danvers. He actually offered sailing lessons on the Danvers River, and he tells me that he's still available to teach sailing lessons if anyone's interested. But he wants to park his sailboat at the end of the float out here, and his powerboat as well. This pier is similar in design to others that have been constructed at Tibbetts Avenue in the last few years. So it has a 4-foot wide section, and it goes out about 150 feet from his existing seawall. The seawall is made of granite block, and it's probably been there since the house was built in the 1920s. It's actually in pretty good shape, and so no repairs are proposed to the seawall or anything like that as part of this project. I think there's about 20 piles. So these are wooden piles about 6 feet apart that create the fixed portion of the pier, and then we've got a 40-foot gangway going down to 3 floats at the end where the boats would be secured. As is preferred by the Chapter 91 people, we actually have a 25-foot offset from the property line extension to the closest point on the float itself, so that conforms to their typical guidance. And if we can just pan up on the page a little bit, there's a profile of the proposed pier construction, and you'll see that there's plenty of room underneath the pier at the shoreline to pass. So if you, for some reason, wanted to walk along the mud, and it's actually it's a very soft mud, so it probably doesn't get a whole lot of foot traffic, but the pier has been designed in such a way so that there's plenty of headroom underneath the pier. So there's no potential impediment to public access along the shoreline as a result of this particular design. You can see the piers and the bracing, the wooden piles and the bracing to keep this thing rigid and protect it from any damage from floating ice in the winter and things like that. And as we've done on other similar projects on the river, we've got some piles that secure the float in place and also allow the gangway to be hoisted up. So at the top there's a hoist beam here. So this end, of course, is fixed. This end goes up and down with the tide. And this allows, in a large storm event, you can just hoist the gangway up above the water here, and that way it will not get damaged. You also might notice that the piles in the vicinity of the floats go up very high, so they actually go up well above the flood elevation, so that as this float comes up to the high water, it can't escape and then meander on down the river and cause damage. The floats are 6 feet by 20, and there's 3 of them, as you've indicated. I had a meeting with Georgia and Chris Sandmore and the harbor master about a week ago, and we explained that we think that this is really a good layout for the pier and the floats. They did mention that there's some draft guidance going around that might suggest a smaller amount of floats being preferred, and I did think about it a little bit after our meeting. And I just think it's worth noting that, this 40-foot gangway that runs out and is fixed to one end of the fixed portion of the pier is actually quite heavy. It's a couple thousand pounds. And you really need some significant float or buoyancy to support that end of the ramp, and you also need to support any passengers and materials that you're loading down the gangway onto your float. So the first section is really more or less just dedicated to allowing that gangway to move up and down with the tides and adequately support it. That sort of leaves the other two float positions for the mooring of the sailboat and the power boat. And I don't really think there's a whole lot of extra room here. I think the other concern I would have about shrinking down the floats into some smaller footprints is, of course, as the float gets smaller, it gets a little more tippy. So we don't really want, we don't want to have floats that are so small that, when you step on one end, before you know it, you're losing your footing and ending up in the drink. So I think we like the layout the way it is, and I think these dimensions are reasonable for residential piers.
Bob, excuse me, just one quick question. What's the total square footage of the
So
floats?
we've got, they're 6 by 20 foot, and we've got 3 of them, so 120 square feet each, that's 360 total. The other thing I want to point out is that there's either going to be Trex decking with a wide gap on the deck boards, or through flow decking or something like that to allow sunlight to get through. There's not a whole lot of vegetation growing along the shoreline here, but we want to be consistent with the DEP guidance, and so we've got gaps in the boards or this through flow decking that allows water and light to get through it as well. I think it's sort of, well, I think that summarizes our proposal. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Okay, so the pier is designed to be at least 4 feet? Is it 4 feet or 6 feet above mean high water?
5 feet.
5 feet.
4 feet wide.
The
Right.
pier,
Yep.
yeah, we recommend no longer.
And some of the other pier designs that, or applications that we've seen are using, are they cement? Or there's some kind, it's the decking is
Aluminum.
Aluminum.
So it requires less piles. Has that been considered here? I mean,
So there are some ways of designing piers that allow a greater spacing. In this particular case, these piles are about 15 feet apart. I think this is a good solid design. It's provides good resistance to ice moving up and down the river. And I think it might be possible to have a different type of structural system to support the level section of the pier. But I think this is tried and true pressure treated wood and very cost effective.
We're seeing it in other applications where they're kind of, pushing the envelope a little bit.
I've seen those, and it does raise a cost question to me, but it might be possible if costs drop to make something like that economical. But this is
we want to minimize the disturbance
right
to the ocean floor.
Yeah.
So the fewer piles, the better. And the square footage on the floats is too high. We'd want to see it less than that.
Yeah, I really, again, I think if you lay this out, you'll see that it's really not that big. It's not.
But we're seeing other people accomplish it, so we'd
Yeah.
probably like to see that here.
All right. Well, again, I think you need that first one to support the gangway, and then after that, you're really looking at 2 that are usable, for supporting the boats. So that really is just 240 that are usable for Mr. Sudenfield, and he's got 2 boats.
Well, we're not here to worry about how they park their boats. One final question that I have.
In all seriousness, though, we are here about the boats. I mean, he's got 2 good-sized boats that he wants to be able to park here, and I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just suggesting that I think we need to give some consideration to how this particular pier is going to actually be used, and it might be used differently. He might have different boats than perhaps some other people on the river.
Okay. Is there a drawing anywhere that shows how this proposed pier and floats extending out, how do they line up with the other piers that are on Tibbetts and then across the way at Foster's Point? Does it stick out as far into the river, farther than the others, or less?
Yeah, so I did provide a graphic earlier today. We might be able to zoom in on it here. It doesn't go to Foster's Point, but it does compare the positioning of Mr. Sudenfield's proposed pier to others in the neighborhood. You can see that He's inside the sort of the boating channel areas. These mooring balls have been circled with the yellow here. And then he's probably comparable to the pier 2 down. He's a little bit beyond the one right next to him. And the reason he's at this particular distance is because we need to get the distance necessary so that his sailboat and the rudders, don't bottom out. Obviously, if a boat's bottoming out, it potentially damage the boat. We also find that when boats are resting on the mud or getting close to the mud, there's a possibility of prop dredging, as it's called, when the propeller action, disturbs the mud. And so there's no real advantage to having it too short. I think it needs to be where the deep water is. And you can see these contour lines here are the bathymetry. We went out and had measured that prior to laying out the pier.
The other thing, too, if I could add, is...
Can you get to
Phil.
the microphone, sir? Just
Yeah.
so that
Thank you.
Phil Sudenfield, 21 Tibbetts. The other thing I'd like to add, in addition to what Bob was saying, at low tide, I'd like to need access to get back to the dock. And at least I know with the sailboat, I need 4 to 5 feet to get tied up to the dock. So that's another reason that goes along with what he was saying. The same thing with the outboard. I don't want to churn up the bottom. If I do churn up too, that gets sucked into the intake of the outboard. So just to mention.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, questions from the board? Mike, do you have any?
Well, just what this gentleman just said, what's the concern with the access to get back to the dock?
So if the float is not in deep water, as we call it, and he's out boating and he wants to get home, he won't be able to get his boat to the float because the water would be wouldn't be deep enough for the boat to navigate.
Isn't that just a matter of knowing the tides?
Well, it is, but obviously, if you don't have access to deep water, then your boating activities are driven around that tidal cycle. Mr. Sudenfield wants to be able to boat essentially at all times.
Yeah. So, with regards to how are his boats different than the boats that are utilized with the shorter piers?
Well, the shorter piers, those boats would not be accessible at low tide, right? Because they're too short. They're probably 3 or 4 feet of less water at this Mr. Sudenfield's float versus his neighbor's float.
And what would the difference in water be at any point?
So each one of those contour lines is 1 foot. So he's at here, this is 1, 2, 3 feet approximately if we extend those contour lines up to the neighboring float.
But at what point is it 1, 2, and 3 feet? At a certain point in the tide?
So mean high water.
Talking about the contour of the bottom.
Yeah. So at the point that it's drawn, we have about 5 feet of water at a low tide, so that's what we've got.
Can you just point me where you mean 5 feet of?
So at the end of his float, at a low tide, he would have 5 feet of water.
At low tide?
That's correct.
All right.
And at that same tide, excuse me, Mike, at the same tide, the next door's float would have 3 feet or 2 feet, whatever the difference was.
2 feet.
Right?
Yeah, so I'm just curious, we're seeing people wanting to go longer and longer. So how do the others manage? They just have less boating time, are you saying?
Or different boats?
Well, no, they're probably not sailboats, but you're right, they have less boating time.
So is it an issue for the sailboat? Did you want to add something? I think your client wants to add something.
Yeah, the next pier over here. There are no boats tied up there.
Currently no boats?
No boats.
Is that a pier that we approved? Which ones have we approved recently?
The one that was
11
approved-
Tibbetts and 9 Tibbetts have been
Yeah,
approved
11
since
and
2020. The other 3 were 1994 and 19.
So that's
the newer one?
This is 21, this is 19, this is 17, this is 11, this is 9. I think I have that right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's
11.
11, that's Mr. Hubbard.
Yep, this is Mr. LeBlanc. Yeah. So the oldest, this is the oldest one. This is pre anyone on this commission.
Right.
And then this one and this one, where everyone on this commission has seen it.
And why did you pick the length that you picked? Why not longer, even? I mean, where did you arrive at that length? Based on the design of the boat?
That's correct.
Well, at some point, is it a question of, well, is the boat suitable for this type of river?
Mr. Sudenfeld has been sailing on this river since he was a boy. He knows what type of a boat is appropriate for the
Yeah.
river.
And probably didn't have a pier like that either.
I believe he did not live at Tibbetts Avenue. You're right. I mean, there certainly are deeper water locations at marinas, and there are certainly larger boats than Mr. Sudenfeld has at various locations along the river.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the whole picture here.
Good.
Are there any other piers approved now that are at that length? Does staff know?
I would have to check. I would think Mead Street, I think, is 250. Mead Street is longer than that. Choate Street may be similar, but as we can see on the screen, the ones in comparison to the neighbors, it is longer. I think, I don't want to quote myself, but I did calculate the average of those 4 other ones, and it was under 200 square feet. I know that, or 200 linear feet. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
It was either 174, 164, 194 was the average based on the Chapter 91 licenses for those other piers.
Do we have input from the harbor master as to?
So when we met with Chris, we had anticipated the applicant trying to change the plane or have a different design if they could consider it. So Chris said he would comment on the final plan because we didn't know if they were going to make revisions or not. So if they're not going to, Chris will provide final comments on this design. Okay. He hasn't provided written comment. And I don't know, Bill may have gotten them and Bob may have gotten them in overview, but we did get comments from DMF earlier this afternoon. Doesn't look like Bob knew that.
No,
Yeah,
I
they came in very late.
I did not get any comments today.
Yeah, unfortunately, DMF is not. So we did get comments. I'll forward those to you, but they were the basic, nothing we haven't seen before. I think there was 3 comments.
Okay.
All right, that's all the questions I have for now.
Okay, Ann, any questions?
No. Are we going to move this? Well, we haven't heard from the harbor master, correct?
No, we're just doing the questions right now.
Okay.
Vanessa?
I just was curious. I kind of would like to see this aerial like a little more. Is that south? Yeah, okay, thank you. I was just trying to see like the approach.
Yeah.
So it looks like there really isn't a pier.
Is that the Water Street Marina on the other side?
I believe there is a pier here sometimes. It's just not installed in this photo. Could that be correct? I'm looking at someone in the audience. Okay. I'm not sure the length of this one, but they're typically, I see 2 pilings right here where probably the gangway would connect to.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that would be as far as it goes?
I think it would probably come another 30 or 40 feet after here. Mike, do you mind mentioning?
I'm sorry, I'm getting confused here. What are these 2 pilings that we're looking at right now? That's a different piece of property, isn't it?
This is a different, Vanessa was just wondering if there's any other piers seaward of this, and there is one, and the pier owner's here, and I called him out, I apologize, but he can tell us the length.
Hi, I'm Mike McCarthy, 23 Tibbetts Avenue. Those are my pilings in the middle of nowhere, look like UFOs. So, yeah, I actually have a gangway that comes down, and there are floats that go across. You can see, actually, in the last shot that my floats are on for the winter. They're on the moorings.
So you
out
pull them in, and where do you put them
Put
somewhere?
them out on the mooring? Is that yours?
there. Yeah, those are mine out here on the bottom left. Yeah, just in case the river ices up, so.
Okay.
And I also used to own 19 Tibbetts, the pier to the right. That's a little shorter. That doesn't have any boats on it anymore. It did when I was there. And I would just for what it's worth, I'm in support of what Phil's trying to do here. I do think that, and I know you had questions about the style, We have an incredible current that comes around here, and I've seen it actually move rocks. It's tremendous, and during the wintertime, it really is aggressive. And I would suggest that the 20 pilings, if that is the account that they've put, is a sound structural design for this area of the river. And to achieve the depth that he's looking for, it also is the right length, because we have a tremendous flats. My boats, I had to buy a specific boat for mine because the water, mean low tide, goes far beyond my property. And so he's lucky to be able to have a design like this. So I'd ask the board to consider giving him what he's looking for.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vanessa, you all set?
I just want to say that I agree with your comment about the square footage of the floats. And that's all I have for,
Thank you.
for now.
Okay, so right now, actually, before we do that, there's public comment. I think Mr. Clement had to.
You Clemens.
Yeah, Pete Clement, town meeting member, precinct 3. I also, these floats that you put out here, I do a lot of that. You know, I own Danvers Mooring. So as far as the structure goes, I think the structure's a good structure. I think it's about the right length. The problem is with this rendering, you can't see exactly what's going on, because at low tide, a lot of this is like mud. All right? And then when the tide starts coming in, of course, the channel's further down, way down, all right? And as it starts coming in, the rest of the area fills up with water, and you got a hell of a rip going through here, coming around that corner. So if you were in even a kayak or whatever, all of a sudden it just whips you around that corner to go down there. So you need some strength over here, and I think the design is right for there. I think it's out far enough. All right, you need some strength, because, like I said, you get an awful lot of water going both ways, coming into the river, and then when it starts to go out. The only time that it goes in the channel is like maybe like 3/4 of the tide, low tide, and then it starts following the channel again. But you got this whole area over in here is a wash. Okay, so I think that's the right way of doing it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Comment? No? Okay, I just want to have further question on the garage, Bob. Is that, the footprint for the garage, is that expanding?
Yeah, so the light gray box sort of is the existing garage. The proposed garage is longer and really, slightly narrower. It's going to have a higher roof from this dotted line and this dotted line in. So this is going to be tall enough so that, again, you can get 2 cars up and down. And then there's sort of a shallower roof line in this area here and in this area here, which are storage areas.
I'm more concerned with the permeability, or, where's the stormwater going to go?
So, yeah, so he's replacing some driveway here, and he's replacing some brick patio with this longer structure. But the water will continue just to drop on the ground. And there's a slight pitch out here towards Tibbetts Avenue. There's a catch basin right on the opposite side.
Okay. All right, so for the time being, we need to see a harbor master's report, right, or his comments. I personally would like to get out and see the site, see it, the site visit. Is anyone else on the board interested in doing?
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
All right, so is that something that's agreeable with the?
Well, of course.
And is it better to try to get there for a low tide, or?
Yeah. We can coordinate for low tide. We'll look at the schedules and then low tide. We'll try to get as close as we can.
Okay, and daylight is really limited, so the,
Yeah, 5 o'clock's off, yeah.
Yeah, it's the perfect mix
so
of
whatever you
scheduling.
can arrange, but we know what we want to see.
Low tide and daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while people aren't working, so let's.
Actually, just as an aside, for that 47 Green Street, we were out there on a site visit in the dark. Do you remember that? In the rain?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was there a pier there before?
There's a Chapter 91 license which was issued in 1975, and it refers to the seawall, but it also refers to a wood pier. I couldn't find any plans showing the pier, but there might have been one.
Now, will a new Chapter 91 license be required?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
So you need a new one?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
And also, that did come with a house. I have a framed photo of a dock going out from there. And it looks like it's either the early 1900s or late 1800s.
Really?
Wow.
Believe it or not, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Clipper ships.
One of the gentlemen on the dock, he had like a top hat. So when people ask me what year, I said, well, I think it looks like Abe Lincoln there, so it's probably the mid-1800s.
Okay, so pending a site visit and the harbor master's comments, I think we're going to need to continue this. So,
Yeah.
if someone can make a motion to that effect, please.
When are we continuing until?
Are you okay with January 11th, Bill? And
Bob?
Phil?
sure.
Bob, sorry, I keep calling you Bill. I'm so sorry.
I've been called worse.
There'd be no work done till the springtime anyway, right?
So January 11th is good?
That's our next meeting, or that's the site walk?
January 11th would be the next meeting. We're not going to have
Okay.
one the week of Christmas.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
Was there another question?
Hopefully, definitely site visit before that. I'll
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
schedule
yeah.
that.
Pete Clement, town meeting member, is the public invited to that site visit?
That's up to the property owner.
Yes? You said yes, right?
Yes.
If anyone wants to go, please email me and I'll let you know the date and time.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to the next meeting on January 11th, 2024 for 21 Tibbetts Ave, DEP file number 14-1409.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Georgia, you'll try and get that coordinated and
Yes.
before you leave us. Okay, so that issue is continued. Item number 7 is a notice of intent for 8 Tibbetts Avenue, DEP file number 14-140. The applicant is Annalise and Kenneth Hill. And is this the last piece of property that's about to be improved on Tibbetts?
I believe there's 2 more, but the Tibbetts, people can tell me, but I think there's 2 and, yeah, there's 2 more. Yeah, 2 more.
Okay, just a quick question. I think there was a demolition next door to this house. Was it at 10 Tibbetts?
Yep.
And what's the status of that project?
It's being framed now. The wood framing is going up.
Okay. Okay, so Bob, this is you again?
It is. And thank you on behalf of Annalise and Kenny Hill. And I can see on our screen at one point, I think Mrs. Hill is tuned in electronically. She's out of town, but listening and able to answer questions, I'm sure, as we move along. This is a pure sort of redevelopment project. And if you remember from our site walks here at number 10, sort of a long rectangular shaped building here on a very narrow lot. So this lot you can see is about 50 feet wide from this property line to this property line. And if you went from the long end of the property from here to the water, it's about 300 feet. So this again is a non-conforming lot, and it's a non-conforming building on the lot. So Mrs. Hill and their architect previously went to the Zoning Board of Appeals and petitioned them to approve the variances necessary to build the house that I'll show you this evening. So just about a month ago, that was approved by the Zoning Board. They've also already been to the Historical Commission and confirmed that the existing single-family house on the property, although it's old, doesn't have any significant historical value, and so there's no demolition delay applicable to that particular house. The house is shown, and again, in light gray here. It's two-story, sort of a gambrel-style roof, if you have been down there, and really in poor condition. There's also a shed to the water side of the house that's also in poor condition. When you approach this lot from the street, one of the things that you're sort of struck with right away is a large silver maple tree. And so on our plan here, we'll refer to this as we go along, this 36-inch silver maple. You come in the driveway here, and it's right there. The house actually, that right now, is sort of hidden by some overgrown vegetation. But it's a rather spectacular maple tree. The hills are very fond of it, and you can see that the design and really all of the work is trying to work around saving that silver maple tree. There's also a smaller sister to that tree, a little closer to the shoreline. There's another 20-inch silver maple that we will save and is important to the hills. And then the only other tree really on the property is a 40-inch willow tree in the top corner here. That one's in poor condition. It's sort of falling down already, and so that tree will be removed because it's really unsafe. But the design will be working around saving these two trees, as I mentioned. Similar to the last presentation, this is also on a very flat lot. The elevations are kind of similar, but you can see at the shoreline here we have elevations of 7, 7.3, 7.5, and those elevations are pretty much constant throughout the site. When you get back to Tibbetts, I think you're at 7.6 again, so there might be a 7.9 on the site. So a very, very flat lot, again, narrow and within the flood elevation. So we have the same flood elevation here, 10 feet, that we had on the previous lot. All of Tibbetts Avenue has a flood elevation of 10 feet. So during a 100-year storm event, there would be approximately 2 to 3 feet of water throughout the entire parcel. And of course, the water would go into the existing single-family residence. It really is not elevated up high enough to protect itself from the flooding. But this new project will be built to meet current codes and current standards and will be elevated, as the neighboring house that you approved at number 10 Tibbetts. So this will have a garage floor here at elevation 8.5, so about 1 foot to 1.5 feet above the existing grade. This will have a crawl space slab at the same elevation, 8.5. And then the living space will be elevated up 4 feet above the crawl space pad, about elevation 12.5. And that's comparable to what was approved and is under construction next door. I think the finished floor is actually about 9 inches higher here than it was at the lot next door. And that's simply because we've got more room to make up the grade from the street than we had at the on the neighboring parcel. The space for the habitable structures, or the living space essentially, is really somewhat comparable to the existing residence. It's a little further back from the ocean. This is the edge of the existing residence here. And you can see the edge of their residence is going to be here with a paver patio to the water side of that. So the building has been moved back away from the water really as far as possible. It's a 2-story structure here. With very modest really in size. I think we have a total living space of around 2,400 or 2,500 square feet, so it's a modest sized house. And then we have a little covered porch connection to the garage area here. This is a 2-car garage. And again, trying to keep away from the roots of the silver maple tree, the garage is kind of, this is a small car and this is a slightly larger car space for the 2-car garage there. We're showing a bituminous driveway coming off of Tibbetts Avenue to the garage area here, and another little parking space here, right here. The overall amount of pavement on the property is about the same post-construction as it is today. Right now, we have about a 15-foot wide by 75-foot long driveway. Here's the edge of the driveway under the current conditions, and a walkway going up to the existing house. So the existing property doesn't have a garage, so the Hills will be able to keep their vehicles, out of the weather and protected from storms and the like. There's a tree out in the right-of-way, actually, that has either already been removed or will be removed. The electric company was talking about this tree is causing some problems with some wires down there, and so I think it's going to get removed even before construction starts here. if it hasn't been removed already. From a layout point of view, we've got, again, our parking areas back here and our guest parking here, some stepping stones coming up to the covered porch area here, and then there'll be a main entrance into the building here. And then there's the stepping stones continue all the way back here to the porch on the back of the house. Now, stepping stones have been selected because they can be set on, pea stone or gravel, and there's really no runoff because it hits the stepping stone, it runs off into the gravel below and then soaks into the ground. So we don't really have any runoff associated with that type of a feature, as long as we keep the gravel available and the stepping stones spaced a little bit apart so that water can run into the ground. But to further manage stormwater at the site, we are proposing to pick up roof drains. So we've got downspouts and roof leaders here, 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 and here, leading to an infiltration bed that would be located here. And so those will take, again, a clean roof runoff and put it into the ground. The site will have, our conventional erosion controls all around it during construction. We're showing a little sewer line coming out of the building here and going out to the street, a water line coming along the edge of the garage and coming up into the building this way, electric, telephone, cable, TV, also the same going in that way. So we're trying to keep all of our utilities and any real roof, any disturbance away from the roots of the silver maple tree here. If we look back towards the shoreline a little bit, can we pan a little bit to the left, please?
Yeah, it has a little delay.
Oh.
There we go.
So do I. You can see, right now it's mostly lawn in this area between the house and there's a seawall. And so the proposal, we'll see the landscaping plan in a minute, but the proposal is to replace this lawn with some grasses and perennials and shrubs, and we'll talk about that as we move forward. We are proposing a little bit of fill next to the patio here because the patio is going to be elevated as compared to the existing grade, and that just for safety reasons, we don't want to have a steep drop off of the patio here as well. A little bit of a retaining wall accomplishing that grade change right there. Again, the shed gets removed, the willow tree gets removed, but not a whole lot of shoreline improvements here. We did have a table on here about our 0 to 35 and 0 to 50 foot thresholds, and so there's our 35-foot line running through the patio, and the 50-foot line runs through the habitable portion of the house. But again, we're just, we've designed the house to be just a little under those thresholds and still providing the space that the Hills need for their new residents. That's we're about just a little less than 10% on the 0 to 35 and a little less than 20% on the 0 to 50. I think that sort of covers most of. Oh, let's get to the landscaping if we can, please. Is that sheet available?
Yes.
So the Hills commissioned Laura Rutledge, a registered architect who's, I think she's presented stuff here in the Concom before, but Laura came up with this landscape plan. It has a lot of nice features to it. I think she's obviously, the stepping stones we can see, same ideas we had on our plan, but better looking here with these sort of square locations where the stepping stones turn a little bit, so I think it gives it a little bit, follows the building a little bit better. And then she's got those running back to the bluestone patio here. But she's introduced a new feature, which is a little sitting area along the river so that the Hills can enjoy the views from the river. It's not particularly big. I think this is 8 feet by 8 feet. But because we're so close on that 0 to 35-foot disturbance, we're probably going to have to pull back the patio a little bit in order to accommodate that. But so that's a change that we'll probably make as we move the plan forward. What you can see on the landscape layout is beach grass here, and then grasses here. So the area that is currently lawn would be replaced by these salt-tolerant grasses. And the landscape architect's thinking here is that because we're at elevation 7, and because, in a big storm like we had last December, actually I think it was December 23rd, Tibbetts Avenue flooded for a few hours as a result of some high tides and a coastal storm coincident. And so whatever plants are planted here need to be able to tolerate some saltwater exposure. And so by planting this area with salt-tolerant grasses, and there are seed mixes available that do that, and also these ground covers, the Laura Rutledge plan has got all salt-tolerant plants. Some I'm not a landscape expert, but I think I have her list here somewhere.
I have it up here, Bob. I added it.
On the screen.
Oh, good. So, yeah, and there's some pictures of some of these plants, but the ground covers focus on bearberry, creeping juniper, and some low bush blueberry. The grasses were the purple lovegrass, switchgrass, and the salt-tolerant grass mix. Perennials, again, all salt-tolerant stuff that you see from time to time on these plants. The shrubs are inkberries, ninebarks, and bayberries, again, all stuff that tolerates some salt exposure. And I think we'll have, seasonal color add a lot to the property because you won't have that lawn really that you have there today. It'll be a lot of mixtures of shrubs, perennials, ground cover, and the grasses. So I think it's a really a nice looking plan. It provides the goals that the hills want of being low maintenance. This isn't the kind of lawn that you're going to be cutting once a week. It's probably going to get cut once or twice a season. So, and that, I think, summarizes our plan. I'd be happy to address any questions.
First question, Bob, it's with the demolition, are they going right down to the foundation? They're going to replace the foundation that's there now?
A new foundation, yes.
And that'll have those pass-through vents for the...
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, that's all I have for that. I'm going to let the other members ask first. So, Mike, go ahead.
I don't have any questions right now.
Ann?
I just have one question. Along the beachfront there, does it drop down?
Yeah, there's a concrete seawall. It's not in great condition, but the Hills are not proposing to touch the seawall at this point in time. I think they really want to get their house up and going, and then see what the budget allows and see if the seawall can be addressed at a later point in time.
Okay.
Would that have any impact on that little sitting area that they want to have out by the seawall?
I do want to go back and look at that a little bit because, again, I just got that from the landscape architect recently, but we might need to do a little bit of stabilization work right at the location of that sitting area. But for the most part, we want to leave the seawall the way it is.
All right, so we'd have to see plans on that if there are plans to improve that.
Fair, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Ann, you all set?
No, that was what I was curious about. Okay.
Vanessa?
I just wanted to ask about the driveway areas that are proposed.
Yeah.
Can you pull the plan back up, Georgia?
Yeah,
No?
can you give me 1 second? I pull up, my computer died, but it's on. I just need to join the meeting and now it's ready to share in like 30 seconds.
Okay, sorry.
But if you want to ask your question while I pull it up, that could get a little...
Sure, so I just, it looked like the old house had like a single place to drive in, like one driveway. And now it looks like there's almost like 3 driveways on the new plan. So that's just what I wanted to ask about when Georgia has it up.
Right. So the existing driveway is about 15 feet wide and about 75 feet long. So, starting here at Tibbetts, it extends all the way back to here. So that area is all paved. And then we're proposing, really 2-car wide in front of the garage with a little guest parking spot. Now, the landscape architect changed this layout a little bit. This little grass area in between the 2 garage doors has been eliminated, and I think the guest parking area got pushed a little closer to this area. So it's really just one drive-in area to provide the parking space in front of the garage doors and a spot for guest parking that would lead to the stepping stones coming up to the front door.
Okay, and just to be clear, like what's the property line street side? Is it where the gray boxes end or?
So, yeah, it's this line that has the text next to it. So that's the property line right there. This is a little bit of an unusual spot on Tibbetts in that the pavement is way out here. So there's a good, 15 feet between the property line and the edge of the roadway.
Okay, so the curved, like dashed line is, okay.
That's the property line there.
Because I was thinking it was like, all of that was going to be new pavement.
Well, this right here is new pavement, but you need to do that in order to get from the driveway to the road. And I also point out, while we're talking about this, that we also got a variance from the zoning board to push the garage as close to the street line as possible. So this is less than zoning would normally allow, but we did get relief to position the garage at this location and minimize that separation distance.
Okay, so, sorry if I'm being a little dense, but where the words Tibbetts Avenue are, to that curved dash line to the right, that's considered town property?
That's
The-
correct.
The street. So even if that pavement is gray, it's not on the property, it's on town property, on the road?
That's correct, and that's normal. I mean, normally, we have a tree belt of, 5 or 10 feet from the property line to the street line. It's just in this particular case, it's a little bit greater than that because of the way Tibbetts was built.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking like the gray, where the gray ended was like where it met the street, but that's not the case.
No, that is the case. I mean, this is where it meets the pavement
If you-
in
so-
Tibbetts Avenue, right there.
I think that photo I put in the memo, it
Yes.
shows that bush up at the front,
Yes.
that tree. That is the tree they're proposing to remove right here.
Okay,
So that can kind of give you a sense of if Tibbetts were to be paved and laid out the way it's shown on the roadway layout plan, it would be a perfect circle.
Okay.
So a lot of these houses have the right-of-way cut into their front yard. Does that, so if you use that tree as reference, you'll see there's like a good another 5 or 10 feet after this tree that is the right-of-way. But as you said, it will be paved.
Okay.
And that is typical what we see in, Tibbetts is public, but I think it's public because we also have an easement, so there's some, yeah.
okay.
Complications.
But that is definitely, that confusion makes sense for the layout that's
Still
on
confused.
site.
Yeah, so like can they be parked in the driveway where it says like Tibbetts Ave before that curved part? Or is that considered the road where like people traveling the road drive?
From what I take, it's wide enough, and Bob, I'll let you, go ahead.
Well, if you were driving on Tibbetts Avenue, trying to get out of the circle, you would drive along here, sort of you'd be in the white area, and you'd continue on. So you could park a car here without obstructing travel on Tibbetts Avenue. But obviously, their property line starts here, so when we lay out houses and garages, we try to make sure that there's plenty of room on their property to park their car, so it's not sticking into the right-of-way.
Okay.
Just a follow-up on that, Bob, how many cars will be able to be parked in the driveway in front of the garage?
So you got one here, one here. Now that this has sort of been filled in, you could probably fit one in the middle here. So probably 3 in this front area. And then now there's a guest parking area sort of that went from here over to here. So 4 with the guest parking.
Do we really need the guest parking, I guess is what we're driving at?
Well, so I think it's appropriate. I think, you want somebody to be able to pull in to sort of see the front door, know where they're going. Over here, all you're going to see is in front of you are these garage doors.
Are we increasing the impervious?
It's actually about the same. Again, we have a very long, 15-foot wide by 75-foot long existing driveway. We're certainly, all of our parking area is further away from the water than it is today, but it's a comparable sized driveway.
Could we get that in numbers?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, this isn't the final plan, right? There's been changes?
Well, right, so I anticipated that you guys might want to do a site walk, and we also received this information from the landscape architect this week, so we're going to tweak the plan a little bit, but I think, as little as possible.
Yeah, overall, it looks like a good project. It's good for the piece of
There's a lot of things to like about this, I agree.
Yeah.
I just think there's a little too much pavement, but
Okay.
I think if we get down there and see the property, we'll...
Can I just ask about the garage?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Bob, on the garage, you talked about being able to raise the vehicles.
That was at the other house.
That was at Mr. Sudenfeld's house,
I
right?
wouldn't be doing that, yeah, oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
So we've seen every piece of property on Tibbetts, so we're kind
Yeah.
of confusing them all.
No.
Okay, would it be possible to have a site visit for both properties?
Yeah,
at the same
maybe we
time?
can try to coordinate
Yeah.
same time, same day.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a
Another
public hearing, right?
factor.
Sir?
We got low tide, daylight, and both at the same time.
Same time, right?
Yeah.
January 2nd, George's replacement.
Pete Clement, Danvers Mooring, town meeting. At the same time, if it's right next door, you don't mind the public coming in on this one either, do
Like I
you?
said, it's up to the property owners.
Okay.
Maybe Bob can talk to the Hills.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have a problem with that, do you?
Mr. and Mrs. Hill, we're
can't
talking to you, but you're on mute. But do you have any problem with the public joining the site visit?
No.
We have no objection.
No.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wondered who they were.
Any other comments, questions? Sir?
Hi, Stephen Garasino. I live at 6 Tibbetts Ave with my wife, whose birthday's today. Happy birthday.
What a
Don't
way to
have to
celebrate.
sing or anything, but my concern is
I'm
that
sorry, what was your address again, sir?
6 Tibbetts,
So right next door.
right next door. So my concern is that there's been several houses built in the last year, and they've raised the level of their houses and the level by 5 feet of the backyards, which, you know, the water's already high at high tides, like the engineer talked about last December, how the water was so high. With everybody raising their property levels, and has it looked into, you know, that it's going to affect existing houses that are there?
I'll just give you my 2 cents, and Bob, I'll just ask for your comment. Doesn't seem to me that we were raising the grade itself. We're just having the level of the structures higher than the grade.
You know, the one you approved at 10 Tibbetts is probably 5 feet higher, the grade.
They brought fill in for that?
Yes.
Oh, there are some grade changes.
Oh, okay, let me ask Mr. Griffith to comment. I wasn't aware of that.
Sure, if we could bring up the grading plan again, please. I'll show Mr. Garasino what's being changed here. There we go. So the grades along the side of the building here are being left the same, but as we get closer to the building, we are going to be elevating again so that we don't have a significant grade change coming off of the patio. So you can see we've got an elevation 12 patio here, and we've got a 9 contour here, and an 8 contour here. So most of the grade here now is pretty close to 8 anyway. So for example, 7.6 here, elevation 8 here, 7.6 here, elevation 8 here. So there'll be a slope away from the building. But this is not the type of fill that would stop water from going from the ocean out towards Tibbetts Avenue. So we're not going to be obstructing water or diverting water onto neighboring properties as a result of this particular construction.
So are you saying no impact then?
That's correct.
Okay, I'd like to see what 10, if they say it's 5 feet higher. I'm surprised to hear that.
Well, I think if you looked at the existing grade at, elevation 7 here, and the floor is up at 12, so there's a 5-foot difference from the grade to the floor. And in the case of the next door building, they've got a garage here at elevation 8, and so there's certainly some fill been brought in to raise up to that garage. I think there may have been, similar to placing some fill around the back patio, there might have been that feature behind number 10 as well. But we're not changing grades by 5 feet around the building by any stretch. We're adding 1 to 2 feet of fill next to the building.
Is the reason everybody's raising up is because of the water issue?
Well, absolutely. So, the current building code requires that the floor be elevated above the flood elevation. And with the discussions of rising sea levels, people are going even more than the flood elevation. So here, we have a 100-year flood elevation of 10, and our finished floor is going to be up at 12.5. So we're going a little bit beyond what the code requires.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does. It's for, not this property, but, we're still talking that there's 2 other properties being developed, and if they raise their land too. We're lucky enough that the water just comes around our house, not touching the foundation yet. But the way, you know, if the lands keep being filled in, built up, then, you know, I'm
Okay.
just nervous for our house.
You're welcome to join us on our visit.
Have you seen Tibbetts when it's?
Oh, yeah, I have the photos framed on my cubicle wall. No, but all joking
No, but
aside.
I can imagine, it's
Yeah.
pretty low.
But I think it is a larger discussion with the town and the town engineer and the planning department, similar to do with subdivisions when everyone changes the grading in their yard to put in a pool and now water's shifting. I think it's not relative to the hills in their application, but it's a bigger conversation for us to say, when those the next two houses come, how does that change things? So definitely heard and acknowledged and something we should look at.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Someone could make a motion, we continue this, hopefully we get this site visit in before the 11th of January as well?
Yes, we will.
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 8 Tibbetts Avenue, DEP file number 14-1410 to our January 11th meeting.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you all very much.
Thank
we'll,
you.
Thank you.
We'll see you at the site visit and then again in January. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Bob.
Next up is a public hearing for the amendments to the wetlands bylaw regulations. Georgia, want to speak to that for us?
Yes, this will be quick, and I did have a little update to give. So the last time we talked, our main last point Mr. Splain had brought up was the shared piers.
Right.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry. Can we bring your
Excuse us, sir.
Hey,
Sir?
can we bring our conversations outside? Sorry. No, it's okay. Don't worry.
I think he doesn't.
So Mr. Splain had a comment that our original new language for shared piers had language about requiring a deed restriction and a recorded agreement between shared property owner, easements. From getting your feedback, we got the same feedback from the River Committee. And so from talking to Chris, we decided to just entirely remove that provision for deed restrictions and licensing. And now it really just said shared piers are permitted and they're encouraged. And if you do a shared pier, you know, there's an incentive that the commission may waive some standards. And our intent here is, knowing how few shared piers we get, I would say we haven't had one in the past 7 years. Maybe we get 1 or 2 in the next 10. We can condition that specific project after talking to the homeowner about what type of restriction should be made between the property owners. I don't think we're at a spot in our regulations or even out in the field where it's necessary to really adopt something so detailed about how a shared pier should be recorded at the registry. So for now, what we were suggesting is to just keep the original language that says, yep, we encourage and allow shared piers. And then once something is filed, then we can really condition it more precisely. The second piece to that was the River Committee. I did share with them a couple months ago the original language, and they've asked that I come back to share with them the changes the commission had made and the discussions we had before the commission adopts. They just, you know, politely requested the commission hold on adopting these until I've had a chance to give them the final version. So if the commission's okay with that, and really what we've talked about the past couple months, I envision you guys could adopt this in one swift motion on January 11th.
Okay.
Because I'm going to go to the River Committee next week.
Okay, so there'd be no further changes as of right now?
Unless you guys think of something over the next week, email me.
Or if the River Committee
Or if the River
has,
Committee, yeah.
serious...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But that was all.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a public hearing, so is there any comment first before we continue? Seeing none? If someone make a motion, we'll continue this to January 11th?
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing on amendments to the wetland bylaw regulations to our January 11th meeting.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, old or new business, meeting minutes. Didn't we already do August 10th?
No. I'm looking right at Vanessa. I'm like, did we do August 10th? I don't believe we did.
They didn't
We
seem
did
familiar to me.
September.
We did September
September
14th. We had to
14th.
change it, fix.
Yeah, so it is a little out of order because those 2 meetings I gave you were really long.
So we must have done 8:23 or
Yeah.
8:24.
The quick
Okay,
review.
does anyone have any comments
Did anyone read
on the
them?
minutes?
I read the first set, but I wasn't at the second meeting,
Okay.
so I was going to
You're
abstain
off the
from
hook.
that vote.
Okay, but we still have 3 voting members, so are we all set?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
someone can
fine.
make a motion to accept those then?
Are we accepting August and September? Did we
Yes.
already
Yeah.
accept August?
No, it was a different meeting in August.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, okay. Make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes of August 10th, 2023, and September 28th, 2023.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any other old or new business, Georgia?
That's all.
All right, okay, before we adjourn, I just want to take a moment to express our gratitude to Georgia. I'm sure everyone knows that Georgia's leaving for greener pastures, and we,
They both don't know that.
and they're- I was going to say you'd have to go to the podium to make a comment, but
I don't have time for that.
we don't have time. If you were sitting closer, we might, but
Yeah.
but Georgia, no, seriously, all the best to you. You've been wonderful. I mean, you're always cheerful. You know the facts, and
And
you
you're
just have
smarter
things under
than we
control.
are.
And
Made our job easier.
I could say the exact same. You guys have been one of the best commissions I've ever worked with, the best board members. You are open and you love to learn. You ask amazing questions and you keep me in line. So,
okay, and you'll
seriously.
be with the DEP, so we can
Yeah.
call on you if we need you.
Yeah.
And we can always say, why aren't those numbers on here?
I know. Where's my file number?
Okay, does anyone else have any comment for Georgia?
Just a round of applause for John.
All right, yay!
Rah-rah.
All right, Georgia! Woo,
When is your last day? Are you going to be at the January meeting, or when is your
I will not. My last day is January 3rd.
January 3rd? Okay.
Yeah. So this is my last meeting with
Last,
the town.
last meeting with the A-team.
I know. With the you are right. You
We
are
don't
right.
know who's coming in, do we?
We don't know. No, we don't know yet. I will. All right, let's close this public meeting.
Okay, so someone make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you
Thank
all,
you.
and happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I'll probably see you around Town Hall.
Yeah, come and say goodbye.
I want to come say goodbye, yes.